Hey guys, today's video I'm just going to run through how I warm up for a bench press and kind of the general rules I follow when I teach people how to warm up in general. So I'm halfway through my workout. I've just done a load of squats, which means I've already done kind of my shoulder warm up before I've jumped into this. So if you're wanting a bit of a shoulder warm up, refer to my videos. Full body mobility, that's the warm up I use, obviously the upper body part for the bench press. My shoulders are fairly beat up these days, my pecs giving me a bit of issue, so I also do a bit of pec smashing as well. If you're unsure what that is, find my video on that, I'll link them in the description. That's pretty much it. So no matter what anyone's doing, whether they're working up to a 200 kilo bench press or 50 kilo, they're going to warm up with the bar. So we're going to do that today. I'm certainly not working up to 200 kilos as much as I would like to say I was. So I just feel to explain, I wear wrist wraps whenever I'm benching, even bar weight, just because I have a old right wrist injury, which just gives me a bit of trouble even sometimes on barbell weight, so I just take no risks these days and I always put wrist wraps on. And one more thing, I always wear a weights belt now when I bench, thanks to an old back injury. So as you can see, I'm falling apart. I am the epitome of health. I thought I'd better explain those two things. I guess I'll explain also the belt. It might be a psychological thing. It just tends to keep my back in a safer position. I don't think I can arch quite as much as I used to, and the belt stops me arching too much and irritating my back when I bench press. Anyway, back to the warm up. I'm working up to 90% today, so I am going fairly heavy. For low reps, I'm only going to be hitting 3. I'm just going to do 5 reps here with the barbell. So I try to keep in mind, I treat the weight as if it's heavy. You might see some individuals going really high volume, and this is where it doesn't really matter, you know, do what suits you. I try not to go too many reps. I feel it just doesn't seem to work for me so much. I might find if my shoulders are enjoying a bit of volume, then I'll just keep the weight light and go with high volume. Kind of my general rules, I suppose, that I give people to start with is just warm up around the working rep scheme. So I'm going to be working at 3, so I'm warming up with 5s. 3's a little too little for my liking. I hope all of that's made sense. So I do favour low volume. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. On the bench, I will keep the volume a bit higher than on certainly deadlifts, and a little bit higher than squats. So it does depend on the movement you're doing. Will depend on kind of the necessity for volume. I really like a very low volume warm up for my deadlifts, a little bit higher volume for my squats. So I'm going to go 5 reps here. As I said, I'm working up to 90 kilos, whatever that is as a percentage. I think it's 85%. I mentioned 90% earlier, I meant 90 kilos, starting off at 60. Because my interest is in powerlifting, I will always pause the last rep in case you hadn't noticed. Next, warm up 70 kilos. So you can see I'm slowly ramping the weight up. This is something I would suggest for everybody. Obviously, if someone is working up to that 200 kilo bench press, to go up in 10s would be ridiculous. They would go in much bigger jumps, but you would have a logic in terms of how big those jumps would be. That would depend on you know, the weight you're working up to, and the reps you're working up to will depend on the jumps you will have and the individual, what their personal preference is. And I think personal preference will come over experience, so that's why like my general kind of sweeping statement for beginners is warm up around the working rep number. So today so far, actually my shoulders have been feeling pretty good, probably because I've squatted before I've come into here. On another day, if my shoulders aren't feeling so good, then That might be where in between my warm-up sets, I might do some pec smashing, some sort of mobility work. Maybe I will add reps, maybe I will add warm-up sets. But today's going well so far, so I'm just going to stick with what I planned in my head. So 70 kilos for 5. In terms of rest times in between my warm-up sets, it's normally however long it takes me to put the weight plates on. Obviously, because I'm talking to you guys today, might be that little bit longer. I'm never going to complain about having a slightly longer rest. So everything's going pretty well. I'll probably go 80 kilos for 3. I don't fancy doing an extra 2. And I've got multiple sets to do today, so I've got 5 sets of 3 at 90 kilos. So it's always a fine balance between don't do too much and also don't do too little. I think after that set, 80 kilos would feel a bit heavy. I might go 85, just do a set 3 there. Just make sure that 90 kilos isn't too much of a shock to me when I unrack it, because that just felt a bit heavy. So for those who don't know, powerlifting collars are on the end now. They weigh 2.5 kilos. I'm on 85, so everything in powerlifting has to be heavy, even the collars. So I'll go 3 reps here, and then I reckon I should be ready for my working weight. Yeah, as you can see, I'm quite glad I went with 85 there for that last warm-up. A little bit shaky, ugly last rep, but I don't think 90k will be a problem. What I'm probably going to find, and what you should bear in mind as well, when you do reach your working set, normally it's the first time you've lifted that weight that day, so even the first couple of sets might be considered a warm-up, even though they're working, just because you're getting used to handling that weight that day. So I'll probably, in my mind, I reckon I'll probably get to the 3rd set in of my 5 sets at 90 kilos, and by then it will probably feel a lot smoother and a bit more comfortable. So I will film those, but that's my warm-up done. With my warm-up done, I'm going to allow a bit longer rest, and rest times is a whole different story, but you know, I wasn't resting very long in between warm-ups. Now I've finished my warm-ups, I'm about to go into my working set. I'm going to rest at least probably 1.5 minutes, maybe even 2 minutes. Being that the percentage that I'm working at is fairly high, I'm going to need that bit longer rest, just to make sure those reps are comfortable and I can achieve them. That actually moved a lot better than I expected. That could have been that longer rest. Either way, very pleased with that. So hopefully over the next 4 sets, I just slowly improve towards the 5th set. Of course, fatigue might set in, so I get that little bit tougher. I think that's everything. You know, I've covered the warm-up. I'm working now. The first working set was good, so I'm considering myself pretty thoroughly warmed up for these 90 kilo presses. I don't think there's going to be much room for improvement over the 2nd, 3rd, 4th set, and like I said, fatigue might set in on the 4th, 5th anyway. So I'm not going to film the rest, as it went a lot smoother than I expected. So I hope all of that has made sense. Thanks for watching.